Hello all, here is Susanna. Hopefully everybody can hear me. From the attendees, I think we have muted you all. So just wanted to welcome you on this event. We have a great speaker, Federico Iaschi. He will be talking to us about prioritization of the resources and budget related to cybersecurity. And I believe it will be a great event. Thank you so much, Federico, for coming to our first online event. It's something new for us because of the situation. So hopefully everybody is keeping sane and safe, as I keep saying. If you do have any questions during the talk, I would kindly ask you to utilize the GoToMeeting features where you're actually having questions, which would be on the pause above the chat. So if anybody has the questions, I will be collecting in the name of Federico the questions. If I do find out that it's relevant to discuss it right now, I will pass it on to Federico. Otherwise, he's more than happy to discuss it after his presentation. If you do have anything urgent, please do use your hand, like there is the function of raising the hand or having the questions if you want to. We can then make it maybe more like a collective in the end of the presentation, but for the sake of going smoothly, we will not do that through the full presentation. Also, I would like to ask you if you would like to join us. We do have the LinkedIn group, which is called the BCS IRMA. So if you want to join us on the LinkedIn, you will keep updated. We will be working on the social media a little bit more because, of course, given the situation, we have to a little bit improve and upgrade. So thank you so much for spending the evening with us. And now I will just pass on the word to Federico Iaschi, and everybody have a great evening.
Hi, thank you, Susanna. I'm happy to be here, and thank you very much to everyone who is attending this session. So I normally do not use a full slide to introduce myself. I usually give my presentation in person, considering, as Susanna mentioned, the situation, and we are connecting remotely. I thought it would be beneficial to spend a few seconds introducing myself for you to get a better sense of who I am, what I do, and what I'll be talking about. So my name is Federico Iaschi, and my role is leading information security department in a company called Seqirus, which is one of the biggest influenza vaccine company in the world. I have a long experience in information security, gained over 20 years within private and public sectors, enterprises. In my position, one of my main tasks is to work towards embedding a security culture in my company and pass the message that security is a collective responsibility shared by everyone in the organization. And I personally am a firm believer that we as information security practitioners, we need to educate on security our colleagues in a way that provide insight of why it is important and beneficial for the business, why information security can be beneficial. Okay, so let's start. Imagine if you were a chief information security officer preparing for your first meeting with the board of directors. You are reviewing your slide deck for the 100th time before your big meeting with the board, anxiously searching for a new way to engage and to show your proposal to get the funds that you need. The day of your presentation arrives, and you get in the room with all the executives. When you finish your presentation, you are still a bit nervous because you may not have been able to explain your message, and you are there waiting for the response. At the end, the CEO looks at you and he says, yes, that made sense. You're right. We would like to support you and support all your roadmap. When you leave, do not forget to stop by my PA and to get the blank check that will help you to budget and to fund all your plans. And that would be ideal for many of us, but unfortunately, that is not exactly the standard. Well, I guess that happens following a big data breach where the CEO, or to be more precise, the new CIO, the one who replaced the one who just got fired because of that breach, we normally has a full support from the board, but normally the reality is that most of the time we need to negotiate. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, but the purpose of information security program is to reduce the frequency and impact of security breaches. And the statement that information security should act as a business enabler rather than process stopper, although this statement might be a cliche, it should remind us that information security is, and we as information security practitioners are here first and foremost to serve the business needs. Therefore, we must make the best out of our available resources and our position in the organizational layout. We always need to remember that we are here to help the business, and we need to align to the business strategy and objective. I personally had a working experience with many different, very different industries. I worked for many years in government institution in Italy, and then when I moved to the UK 10 years ago, I worked for a couple of years, 2 years in a global engineering company. Then I moved to a global telecommunication companies for almost 5 years. And then a pharmaceutical industry where I am now. And whilst information security principles were obviously the same in all cases, different approaches were taken and the role of information security was seen differently. Each industry was expecting something different, slightly different from information security, in line with its priorities and objectives, in line with the company priorities and objectives. And I'm not saying that how we treat information security should be different, but that the starting point each time in different industry was different, and the expectations coming with that as well. Stephen Covey used to say that most people do not listen with the intent to understand, but they listen with the intent to reply. And again, what I'm trying to say is not that information security practitioners like us shouldn't try to convince the business stakeholders of the value of information security. However, we need to be careful not to stomp over people's ideas and strategies. Otherwise, we are going to fail miserably. What I've seen too often is that people do try to win their cases without really listening to their counterparts. And whenever information security personnel find themselves in a dispute over resources or policies with IT personnel, information security should always remember one of the most important fundamentals, which is the risk assessment process. We are expected from the business to have extensive knowledge in analyzing and managing risks of cyber threat landscape, cybersecurity landscape. And following our discussion with the management, we should be able to provide information to identify exposure risk areas. And what we need to do, what is, again, one of the main suggestions, one of the main things we should focus when we start working in a company, is that we need to focus on implementing baseline security controls that broadly reduce security risks. But one thing we need to consider is that if we look into implementing a baseline of security controls, we also need to consider that a baseline is going to be used by our employees, and therefore we need to ensure that our employees are on board with security. And this is why information security awareness is one of the most important and essential layer of security we should look into. So Hollywood and the movie industry have a lot to answer for. According to the movies, cyber criminals operate in some dark and dusty places, targeting carefully selected large companies or governments and using things like worms or keys to gain access. And this caricature has reassured many into a false sense of security, believing that data breaches are something that happen to someone else. But unfortunately, the reality is that cyber criminals rarely fit that profile. They are opportunistic, they use scattergun techniques like phishing to hunt for weak targets, and their intent is rarely world domination. It's normally just money. And it is not difficult to understand why phishing has become the favorite attack vector for cyber criminals. Because no matter what the enterprise they target, it is almost always easier to trick an employee, to trick a person, rather than penetrate perimeter defenses. And as well, it is not just really big banks, big companies, or governments that get targeted. Everyone is being targeted. We are constantly under attack from external threats. A medium-sized enterprise, security controls or filters, block an average of around 30,000 emails every day. On a positive note, an overall higher awareness of cybersecurity and practices can raise level of security and slow the spread of cyber threats significantly within a company. So think about it as you would with protecting your home, okay? You don't just have a gate in front of your home. You may want some walls, some fence around your house just to protect it. And maybe you want to install also CCTV camera systems just to monitor what's happening. Or maybe you want to use additional locks for your car, your gate, your door. But if after installing all these security controls to protect your belongings and what you really care, if after all of this, someone just leave the door open, it doesn't matter. Everyone doing business today shares an unfortunate truth. No matter how strong your cybersecurity defenses, your employees are your biggest potential source of failure. And it is not that we have hired bad people. But there simply is not enough understanding around the issue that are important to keep our company safe. And this is, again, because as cybersecurity controls get better, get stronger, criminals are increasingly relying on targeting people to make their way into systems or networks. And another thing is, no matter how much training we provide, if employees do not see leadership following the process, then everything will fall apart. In order to have a strong culture, we need strong leadership to model it. In order to win this battle against the cybercrime, everyone needs to take responsibility. Dealing with information security threats and incidents, it is not only a technology issue, but it's a people's behavior. That is one of the main messages that we need to pass to our colleagues. An information security culture will help employees within a company to understand why they need to take information security seriously, what they gain from their active participation and support, and how a secure environment helps them complete their assigned task, how information security can support them. We always need to remember that security of systems is dependent on the people that use them. This is why we need to promote a proactive rather than reactive approach within our business. When planning an information security awareness campaign program, we need to acknowledge one important fact, which is that one size will not fit all. Classic training may be very, very effective for a number of employees, but not everyone. An information security newsletter, for example, may be very effective for a different number of employees, but not everyone. Let's be honest, how many of us read our company newsletter from start to finish and use the content we have just read in our daily work practice? To be honest with you, I am not one of those people. When I receive a company newsletter, I personally, most of the time, skim through the content without spending much time on it.
Maybe, Federico, we can ask for the guys just to raise their hands if anybody is in there, and we can utilize the go-to meeting feature. So if there is anybody, please raise the hand up.
Yes. Well, on this question, I'm not expecting many people to raise their hand, but yes, if
sure,
you
just
are
to
one
make it a bit of interactive, right? Like it's not like you just talking. I just was like waiting for opportunity to step in to just give you a pause, maybe to drink.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, Susanna.
You're welcome.
So no one is raising their hand, I guess. So the main thing is that we need to use as many channels of communications, as many tools as possible in order to engage the most number of employees. As an example, if we say that LMS training, a normal training is going to be effective for 10% of employees, roadshows or face-to-face engagement workshops are going to be effective for a different 10% of employees. If you take those separately, obviously the number of employees is not going to be higher. If you use a different, and if you use these tools together, you are going to engage the a higher number of employees. And this is what we need to try with these programs, because again, what we are targeting, what we are trying to do, we are not trying to train people, but we are trying to create a culture. We are trying to create this new level of attitude, or change the attitude toward information security. We want the message, again, I wanted to repeat that the message that we want to pass, we want to create a culture that promotes information security as a collective responsibility rather than just an IT problem. It's not just something is not working, is an IT issue. It has to be a collective responsibility. We need to focus on changing behavior. That is our main goal. We want to relate, if it's possible, that is very beneficial, to relate cyber awareness also to personal life, personal to family, to home. If we pass our message that which is only going to be work related, again, we are going to engage a number of employees. If we extend this and we make this more relatable to people, that is going to provide better results. And one thing is that awareness, again, is not training. The purpose of awareness is to focus attention on security, to help individuals to recognize why information security is important, to identify information security concerns, and to respond accordingly. When launching an information security awareness campaign, brief, intriguing, sticky content is key. We don't want to overload people with too much information. As well, we need to focus on timing. The more relevant and timely the message, the better. And we also need to try to be creative. We need to, if it's possible, add competition or add other learning techniques is going to provide extra benefits on that. And so we use that multi-layered approach for the security awareness program in our company. And we were able, I'm just bragging myself a little bit, we were able to win the 2019 Best in Class Internal Communication, I'm just reading now, sorry, and Employee Engagement Award with the industry body PR Week. We achieved outstanding results with our information security awareness campaign. We introduced the information security escape room as part of our security roadshow. A security roadshow was a way to reach our colleagues in all the main offices, major sites of our company. And we received 100% of positive feedback, so very, very good results.
And I would just interrupt you in here because I have been a part of that, and I must say that it has been a very innovative, it has been absolutely engaging, and I would just say congratulations again, Federico.
Thank you. Yeah, no, exactly. Suzanne was part. Yes, for the first few months, Suzanne was part of this, and she gave a great help. Thank you again for that.
I didn't say for that.
Yeah, no, I know he didn't, but I know also that Yolanta should be on the call, and so thank you.
And Fernando as well.
Yolanta and Fernando working with me, and yes, so we did very well. But okay, going back to the awareness campaign, we need also to understand that the information security campaign and awareness campaign, such as a training, is not a one-off activity, but is rather an ongoing process that needs to be continuously supported, because unfortunately, the cybersecurity threat landscape is always changing. It's changing very, very rapidly. Every month there are new issues that did not even exist before. There's something new always coming on. And so we need to have a regular review and refreshment of our campaign, our content. And one thing that is massively important is feedback from participants. We need to give the opportunity to participants to provide their feedback, and we need to update the program based on the results. We need to have metrics that will help us and will help the management to make informed judgment about the effectiveness of our program. But we need also to monitor and to understand where we are going. We will go through metrics in a second. Reporting, evaluation of the communication campaign against metrics, performance, objectives need to be conducted to report on the campaign's effectiveness and to fundamentally establish lessons learned to improve future initiatives. And one very important point is the post-implementation and the strategy for improvement, because it's not simply gathering and reporting numbers. It is that acting in response to the numbers. We need to act in response to the number. We need to gather information and use that information in order to understand what can be done differently, what can be improved. Okay. Metrics. So one aspect, of our information security campaign are the metrics. Please note that these metrics are fictional. These are metrics that we were presenting to our management. This is to give you an idea of what can be measured, what can be reported. But I changed the numbers, so obviously the numbers are fictional, but to give you an idea of what can be done. So user email reporting. When launching an information security awareness campaign, one of the first objective is to make people aware of what to report and how to report. So one of the first effect that you can expect is that the number of user report increases. And this is not because you became a bigger target or for cyber criminals. It is just because people now know what to report and how to report. So the higher the increase, the better. It means that your campaign is working. At the same time, whilst you should have a increase in number of reports, you should also experience a decrease in clicks on suspicious
Hi, Federico. I think there's a bit of an issue with your internet because about the past minute, once you begun this slide, we just had your microphone kind of in and out. You could try maybe yeah, if you try disconnecting and reconnecting your audio device, just if you've got a headset, just sort of plugging it out, plugging it back in, and then go into the audio pane and reselecting it.
He done is to list the places where you organized those roadshows, just to give. Yeah,
Federico, sorry. I think
yes.
we just lost your connection, and Joe was just telling you that we and other participants just cannot hear since you choose this slide, that we couldn't hear you. So yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Again, it'll be fine.
Can you? Yeah, okay. If you can start this slide again, because nobody hear you. I got a few people telling me that they can't hear. Sorry, one more again. No,
okay. Yeah, okay, so I'll be very quick. So again, user email reporting, one of the first thing that you can expect when you launch a campaign is the number of user reporting should increase. And that doesn't mean that your company became a bigger target for cyber criminals. That should be because people, and you taught people, you explain to people what is that they need to report and how to report. And so therefore the number of user reporting potential security events should increase. So if you're doing a good job, the number of reporting should go up. And as well as the number of user reporting should go up, one thing that should go down is the employee clicks on suspicious links. What you normally do, or what you can do, is to organize phishing simulation campaigns within the company. You send phishing simulation tests just to monitor how many people would click on suspicious links. Normally, what you do is you run a phishing simulation test before launching the campaign or the beginning of the year, just to draw a baseline, and potentially, hopefully, after a few months, if you did a good job, that number of clicks should go down. Information security roadshows. One aspect of our information security campaign was information security roadshows, and we decided our objective was to help and was to bring information security closer to our users. So we went and we organized these events in all the major sites in our company. And this is, again, going back to the discussion and the slide of multi-layer approach, because one thing is the in phishing simulation, you can, or training can, engage a number of people. Maybe some people prefer to be engaged face-to-face. They'd rather see people, in person and just ask their questions in person. And so these information security roadshows were very, very positive. One thing that you can measure and you can present is the number of locations that you visited with a specific activity. Campaign topics. We do not want to overload with information our users, because otherwise they will just start ignoring us, and we don't want that. And we need to divide our information security awareness campaign in different phases, each one dedicated to discuss and to review and to provide information about a different topic. And a good metric could be showing the topics which have been discussed so far. Security intranet side, a sense of community is paramount, is very, very important when launching these programs. We want our users to feel part of the program and to be able to raise their hands, to ask questions, to actively engage. Again, considering what I discussed before, this may not be actively working for all employees. Maybe someone will just in the internet site visit that to download the security policies, but there will be many other people leaving, asking questions, leaving posts. Creating an information security community is going to provide great benefits. Either you can use team channels, Yammer, SharePoint, internet site, whatever you have in your company. It doesn't really matter which tool at the end of the day you use. The important thing is the final result. You really want to create engagement with your audience, and measuring this engagement. In this case, we are using our intranet site. The number of visits to your intranet site can show how good is your engaging work going. Last thing is the information security escape room. In our information security awareness campaign we rolled out in my company, we had a specific distinguished point, which was the information security escape room. And obviously this doesn't mean that all information security campaigns should have an escape room. But again, going back to the multi-layered approach, gamification has been proven to be highly effective in transferring knowledge to employees. As well, this particular example of gamification is not aimed at training people about a specific topic. Instead, it is aimed at changing people's behavior, changing people's attitude, posture towards information security. And I would suggest measuring what makes your information security campaign engaging, in this case, our information security escape room, and use it in your favor. As I discussed before, senior management support and involvement is paramount for a good information security awareness program. What do we need from our management? We need them to lead by example, because this will help creating a culture within the wider business where information security is viewed as being a core business concern. This should help us moving away from talking about information security as just being an IT issue, and instead shaping it as a business priority. Then we need them to ensure commitment, ensuring that good practices in information security are applied effectively and consistently throughout the company. In meetings, in presentations, in all daily interactions, the senior management need to show that they are looking for how security has been taken into consideration. And communicate. Communicate is always essential to influence any kind of behavior. Communicate the importance of information security and the need for everyone to actively contribute. All managers throughout the business must be aware of their information security responsibilities, about the need to develop a risk-based approach. So the key takeaways from these sessions are that awareness is not training. The purpose of awareness is to focus attention on security. The key objective overall is not much about training and education, or delivering knowledge about a specific standard or regulation like GDPR, but mainly is about changing, is about altering the mindset and behavior of the workforce, and really create a live and breathe security cultures as part of your organization. One size does not fit all. We need to be able to use different tools to engage different type of people. We know that our objective is to engage as many people as possible. So we need to understand our industry, our company. We need to understand what tools we can use. Finally, we need to spend effort understanding the business and our audience, and this will help us shaping our programs, such as the Information Security Awareness Campaign, and will help our role of business enabler. One example, sorry, I made to my manager was about how the perception and attitude towards information security changed within the business after the information security campaign, after we started that and we started the work with the various engaging on other projects on the various business stakeholders. One difference that I mentioned to my boss was that people smiled at us, which is silly, but if you think, I mean, before we started, when someone from security walked, you know, in the corridor in the company, in the office, when we were still able to be in the office, people just hid under their desk and they didn't want to engage you. They didn't want to, you know, it's like when you're at school and you just go down because you don't want your teacher to call you. Then after we started doing these programs and talking with people and trying to explain why we were trying to do what we were trying to do after we started the Information Security Awareness Campaign, we really saw that people were more happy with engaging, were more willing to engage us and to ask for our support. And I think we are at the end. I don't know if we have any question. And Susanna?
That would be good if I actually unmute myself.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. I just thought that I lost everyone. I talked to myself for like half an hour. I said, okay, oh, interesting.
No, so I don't know what happened. Either you have been so clear or people are so knowledgeable, but we do not have any questions. So what I will do actually is, and hopefully Joe can help me if I fail, but we can unmute all the people and people can ask directly. So I will just enable everyone that they can unmute. Can we do that, Joe, right? If I click attendee.
We can unmute the attendees and then they can sort of, if they would like to, they can unmute their microphones by themselves and then have the freedom to talk.
Yeah, so I do see Baljit Sarpal with a question mark. So if you want to unmute, I just unmute you, Jill, so you can have a question. I see Nigel just click as well. So so if you guys just can culturally one by one. So if I can just ask Baljit first because he was the first one, then if we can go to Nigel and then to David. Hi, David. Hi, Nigel. So if we can just start with the Baljit, that would be great, and I will just manage it ongoing. So if you want to talk, Baljit.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I kept getting unmuted automatically by Seams. One thing that you mentioned was in terms of the awareness, raising the number of people reporting incidents. Did you find that after a period that those incidents then reduced because people were becoming more aware and hence not acting upon the same triggers that they might previously have been doing before you started your awareness campaigns?
Yes, I mean, I had to say that let's use some numbers just as an example. Let's say that before the campaign we received like 10 reports a day. Obviously, this is just to make a number.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as we launched the campaign, we got that number going up to like 50 reports a day, and then the number, as you said, just decreased a little bit, but still, let's say 20 a day, to say that it was still higher than before we launched the campaign. So
Yeah.
definitely went down a little bit because people was, more knowledgeable, but still, because as well, one thing that we did was to provide, in order to help people to report information security event, in that case, email, potential fraudulent emails, we enabled button on Outlook. So when anyone receives an email, suspicious email, they can just select the email, click that button, and the email is sent to our SOC, Security Operations Center, for investigation. And then obviously it's much easier than tell people, okay, if you receive a suspicious email, you need to forward it to that, and then you need to put it as an attachment, but you don't need to. So it's much easier just for people just to select the email, click a button, and forget about that. And then the email is actually moved in the junk folder in the user mailbox, so you cannot see it anymore. So if you facilitate that, and you want to facilitate that, you will still receive, more reports than before you started the campaign, but definitely less than, the peak that you reached when you launched the campaign.
Yeah, and I guess it's only when you start acting on those, putting new controls in place, that you really see a reduction, which is what you ultimately want to achieve as a business.
Yeah, because the thing that you always need to remember, to consider, is that, again, you can put as many security controls in place, but I mean, the odd 1, 2, 3, 4 real phishing emails just go through. So, and unfortunately, those are the emails that are going to create problems for you if anyone clicks a link. So again, what I'm saying when I say the importance of information security awareness and importance of people is not to denigrate or to say that technical security controls are not good or are not important. They are definitely important. It's something that needs to be done, together with an information security awareness campaign. It needs to be done at the same time. And definitely when you work more on security controls, you should also see those numbers going down.
I just have a question here by Gary. I think he has raised a hand that he wanted to talk on the same topic. So Gary, if you want to just comment yours.
Yes, bit of a contribution and a question. Sounds like you did a great job on the security of the emails with regards to phishing. What sort of security controls did you put in place for the network against, for instance, external intruders? And what sort of metrics did you put in place?
I mean, with regards to networks, I mean, if you're talking about technical controls, I mean, those are the areas that are more related to the security operation teams in our company. So in my company, information security and security operation are two different teams. Obviously, we work together, but for example, they are responsible for the SOC, the Security Operations Center. They look at the several monitoring reports from, for example, Zscaler for the internet filtering. So with regards to, I mean, this piece of work for the awareness campaign and the information security strategy that I run in my company was mainly related or focused on creating processes, policies, standards, and as well information security awareness. With regards to the technical security controls, that is a different aspect. That, I mean, you'll find my email and LinkedIn contact and in this presentation. Definitely, if you want to get back to me, I'll be more than happy. Because I mean, if we start talking about that, we can talk for hours, and I don't want to bother all the people on the call. I'd be more than happy to answer you on that.
Is that okay with you, Gary
Okay,
and
thank you.
Baljeet? Yeah. So shall we ask Nigel? Nigel, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, I was curious as to whether you experienced, Federico, any problems with users, particularly senior users or from certain departments, wanting exceptions from security rules, such as being allowed to download files, email things out, connect devices, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that is a very good question, actually.
That's Nigel.
But you always have that sort of request, and quite painfully, those requests normally comes from someone in the senior management, as you mentioned. Actually one thing that we did with all our governance work and standard and policy work was to define a clear exception process in order to avoid people just going to someone in the IT department and ask, can you unlock that website for me, or can you just install this software on my laptop just because I need it. We tried to have and to roll out a consistent approach to manage exceptions, which requires the definition of the exception, risk assessment, definition of why that exception is needed, business needs, very detailed and specific. What are the mitigating controls in place if you don't want to, abide to a specific standard or policy? What are you doing to provide the same level of security, and so on? Definitely, that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean that you cover everything. There will always be some, senior person asking for something odd, and in that case, you just need to try to understand whether that is really needed or whether there is a safer option, to provide what they're asking. But I mean, so far, to be honest, we haven't had too many requests on that. So we've been quite, I don't know whether it's lucky or we've been quite good in what we are doing. And as well, the thing that I would suggest is to define a clear exception process, and that would also require anyone in the company, from the CEO to someone in the IT department, just to follow a specific and formal exception process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Nigel. I was about to ask if that is enough for you. And I think David had a question. So do you want to, David, ask your question? I think you wanted to speak as well. Let me know, David, if you wanna talk.
Probably.
Can you hear us, David? Okay, if I don't know, David.
His mic's up mute, but we have an issue with his equipment. So if you could just type the question in the question box, David. We can't hear you.
Yeah, he's putting the question in there, but we can't hear you, David. So if you want to just put the questions, I will read. Oh, here we go. I have no microphone. Okay, so if you just want, so if you just wanna maybe write it down, the question for us, David, then I can just repeat it here for Federico to answer your question. If you want to, I can do that for you, David. In the meantime, before David writes his question, is there anybody else who would like to ask any questions? If so, please unmute yourself, or I will unmute you. Baljeet, I see that you put up the question up. So if you wanna have the question again, please feel free to unmute yourself. Okay, before you do that, David is asking, what level do you pitch the info awareness program for different staff? So what level do you pitch the info awareness program for different staff? Federico, that's a question from David.
I mean, that is, again, a very good question, because one thing that probably I didn't stress enough was that you need to understand your audience. So, and you need to shape your message based on who we are talking to. We've been quite lucky that we've been able to engage our senior management with our information security awareness campaign plan, just in the strategies, just to show them what we were planning to do. But as well, then we needed to cascade down messages and topics and guidelines to the whole company. And we had, for example, webinars for people managers, and then we had the road shows, as I mentioned earlier, to engage with the various employees in the manufacturing facilities. And the level of, I mean, the message at the end of the day was very, very similar, but what you needed to add and how you pass the message was different. For example, one thing that I mentioned in the last few in the last few slides was the importance of managers and leadership, and how important it is for leadership, what we need to ask to leadership to support our program. Those were slides and messages passed to the people managers and the leadership in our company. They weren't passed to the, I wouldn't say standard employee. Standard probably is not a good term to describe, but to the people at the manufacturing floor. The thing again is that even if the message is very similar, you need, that is massively important, you need to shape your message based on your audience. You always need to remember that, otherwise you're going to miss something when you deliver the message.
Okay, if that answers your question, David, let us know. Otherwise, please write again in the text. Okay, David is saying yes. Gary, do you want to have some more? You have the hands up, or anybody else would like to ask something more to Federico? Because otherwise we're coming up to an hour, and we know that in these times the time is precious.
Yes.
Everybody is very busy. But please feel free to ask either in the questions, or raise up the question or hands, and I will enable you. Up to you guys. If nobody has any more questions, then I would like to, on the behalf of the whole special group of IRMA, thanks to Federico for his great presentation, and thank you for being the pioneer in actually making this one as the first virtual one. And we will be able, with permission of Federico, to post this on our website, so you will have access to this presentation online once we proceeded. And we will look forward to seeing you at the next one. We hope to get next one in 2 weeks' time to follow up the regular schedule. We do have a bit of the talks with all the presenters to make it again every second week of the month. So we will communicate further, and we hope to see you at the next one. Hopefully you enjoy this, and wish you good evening, good night, and keep safe and sane, I would say. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye bye.